And welcome back to Home Track Heroes here on CW11 as we get ready for some figure eight racing. Now we're throwing the road course away and going to the figure eight track now.
I love figure eight racing. We have had so much fun on Home Track Heroes with the figure eights over the weeks here. And these are the big boys, the super stock figure eights. We had a lot of fun with them. The first time I got to be on the program with a win by just a matter of mere feet. See what kind of excitement we have coming up on this one.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully we'll have just exciting of a finish here tonight as we will get to know these drivers. Starting on the front row, we got the 72 of Jeff Talbert, sponsored by Pilchuck Heating, and to his outside, the 58 of Chuck Wittes.
Looking at row number 2, Jim Powers in the Rich's Car Corner, number 007, Jacob Rennecke in the 45.
And row number 3, we got Jessica Wilkinson, the 55 JE, and she needs sponsors. So if you're looking for a great car to sponsor, the 55 JE in the middle of your screen right there. To her outside, we got the 01 of Doug Delfo.
Starting inside row 4, the 64 of Eric Allison, sponsored by Rosella Art Gallery in Snohomish. Next to him, 11X Andrew Shukar, the B&R Tri-Wall entry.
And in row number 5, we got the 17, the one-arm bandit, Quentin Borison, sponsored by Mrs. Turner's Hometown Cafe in Puyallup. And to his outside, the 67 of Mackenzie Dietz, sponsored by BECU.
Watch this back row. These guys could be fun. It's the 11 of Keith Cook, Masters of Crete, the sponsored there. Next to him, the 32, the showman himself, Steve Cox.
Yeah, and Steve Cox was who you mentioned, had that great photo finish win over Quentin Borison last time you were here. So we'll see what kind of theatrics come out of that 32 car from the back of the pack. But up front, the green flag is out for Jeff Talbert and Chuck Wittes as they howl down that intersection into turn number 1 and 2.
They're already leaning on each other as they work through the South Pole. We call that the South Pole. On the way the side, this is the North Pole, so that's the references.
As Jeff Talbert with a great jump so far. The 007 of Jim Powers able to get to the inside of Chuck Wittes and take over that second spot early. But that 72 car out front looking good, looking smooth so far as we got a great field, one of the biggest field of super stock figure eight cars we've seen here this year. And it's going to be some great racing. You'll see Eric Allison dive deep down trying to make his way up early.
That's Rennecke's blue with gold number 45 that he just shuffled on backwards. So Allison doing a nice job moving up the 2002 Monte Carlo through the field as we got a car around.
That is the one-arm bandit, Quentin Borison, 17. We'll see if he's able to get it refired back up. He's rolling, so hopefully that will bar the caution from going out, and we will stay green for now as we're going to go back up front to the leaders, Jeff Talbert, Jim Powers, Chuck Wittes, and then there is Jessica Wilkinson, the JE55 with Eric Allison, who Eric's made quite a good amount of appearances on the podium this year, so we'll see if he's able to get that 64 car up a few more spots.
Jessica paid me a bunch of money in the off week to remind people that JE55 spells Jess, by the way. Just in case you didn't know, she had a bad corner there and lost a spot.
Yep, and there goes Eric Allison around her. But yeah, that is very creative and very smart of her to do that. I didn't even put that together until right now.
Hey, you learned something. Now you're watching her go side by side with Allison, and Allison with the aggressive move to the inside, getting into the North Pole. Gonna shuffle her on backwards. Those two getting after it hard.
Yeah, and right behind Jessica Wilkinson, there is Keith Cook and Steve Cox, the back row drivers that you mentioned to keep an eye on, as Keith Cook hangs it way out wide in that 11 car, trying to carry the momentum around the high side. But there goes Steve Cox.
We didn't see Cook on the last time we were on Home Track Heroes with the Super Stock Figure Eights. There he is, working back to the inside on Cox. He has completely done the entire rear suspension to that car, a whole different design for him. He said there's been some time trying to get used to it, figure out a new driving style, but he felt comfortable right away, and you can see him moving forward with speed.
Oh yeah, he's got a ton of power in that car, and he's making it work. It's almost a little too much power as he hangs it a little bit sideways going around the North Pole. But here comes the 67 Mackenzie Dietz trying to follow their tire tracks through the field. Yeah. As that's not a bad pair of cars to try to follow and mimic.
No, definitely not. Those three are steamrolling, but they've got some room to make up on your top four, where Jeff Talbert continuing to look really good out front. Jim Powers right there in case he slips up.
Yeah, and Eric Allison all over the back of third place Chuck Wittes. And one of my recent memories of Chuck Wittes in that red number 58 is him getting absolutely T-boned a few years ago by the one and only V8 Steve Peters. But we got a caution out as we see Andrew Shukar in the 11, possibly some contact with the 01 of Doug Delfel, as we're going to take a look at our speed shot camera coming around the North Pole and just getting together ever so slightly, and that's probably what cut down that tire on Andrew Shukar in the 11. So hopefully they're able to get that change and get him back out here, and hopefully we'll be able to see the 01 continue as well.
Well, field getting lined up and ready to go back to action. This has been a fun main event already, as a lot of the guys from the back are working their way forward, but your front four have been dynamite so far. 22 more times around the figure eight for the super stock figure eights here at Evergreen Speedway on Home Track Heroes in the CW11.
Yeah, and they put on a great show every time they come out. Monroe Grocery Outlet, the title sponsor of these guys. You're going to want to come out and see them in person, and you'll feel these cars from the grandstands. That's how powerful they are as the green flag is back out for Jeff Talbert in the 72.
Nothing quite like the screaming 350 small block that Talbert's got in there. Look out, traffic jam going into the South Pole. Hello, Uke Tires. Meet Mackenzie and meet Jessica.
Yeah, it looks like there's some contact with Jim Powers early going down through the intersection. That's what cut down that left front tire that you could see and just kind of bottlenecked everyone up. You saw Allison get a little bit sideways. Looks like everyone's going to be able to continue, but early contact there with Chuck Wittes and Jim Powers, and that kind of bottlenecked everyone up. And those U tires, wrong place, wrong time to meet a couple of the lady drivers here.
Yeah, some drivers are going to have a little bit of rumpled bodywork in the process, too, as I think the entire field from about third on back got at least front bumper to rear bumper action somewhere in that deal, with one exception, Steve Cox kind of sneaking through unscathed.
And we're going to jump on board here with Mackenzie Dietz in the 67 and get a really good view of how quickly things can develop here in the Superstock Figure 8 class.
Take a look from inside the cockpit of Dietz's car, and look out. Ouch.
Yeah, you can see the great paint scheme on Eric Allison's helmet as he went by right there. But like we're saying, Monroe Grocery Outlet, the head sponsor of these guys. Monroe Grocery Outlet is your locally owned neighborhood grocery store. They offer name brand products, fresh produce, organics, wine, and more at 40 to 70% off than traditional grocery stores. Shop them first and save. Monroe Grocery Outlet is a proud sponsor of the Superstock Figure 8 class, which are getting ready to finish up the main event. Still 22 laps remaining.
That's right. Just like it was before, we'll do it again, reshuffle the field a little bit, and find out what happens from here. Talbert brings us back to green flag action, and it's Allison jumping to the inside, looking to shuffle Wittes backwards. Nice move by Allison. Now he's up there threatening for the lead, bringing Cox with him.
Yeah, and Quentin Borson also trying to pick off a spot, trying to get around Chuck Wittes. As we see the 007 Jim Powers, he got a new shoe on that car. Is he going to pull back out onto the track? As looks like Mackenzie Dietz with possible some issues, maybe a cut tire in her car as well. But up front, we got a great battle and a new leader.
That's right. Allison made the pass on Talbert the last time by, and here comes Cox on with him. Here comes Borison on with him. So little potential disaster early from Borison. He's rebounded quite nicely and is now threatening for a top three.
Yeah, we saw 17 get spun earlier. Now he's back up battling inside the top four as Steve Cox looks trying to get to the inside of Eric Allison. Not quite there yet. And Steve Cox, he's not a patient guy. He's not going to wait around. He's going to make Allison make a mistake and try to get that first spot.
Well, there's a lot of opportunities to make a mistake when you're turning right, turning left, and have a lot to handle. Not to mention the intersections, which we haven't seen play a big factor yet. Still a lot of time for it to come in.
Exactly. I haven't quite got a long enough run in yet, but it was a very hot day, and that track is very slippery, and we're seeing Allison, and he's slipping and sliding a little bit, locking to the tires as Steve Cox is all over that right rear of his.
You can see Cox actually kind of sliding the race car himself around, doing almost a little bit of dirt tracking as the back end had busted loose a couple of times. There's the pass for the lead, and look who he's bringing with him.
Yeah, Quentin Borison's going to follow the tire tracks through. He's like, excuse me, Eric, coming through. I'm going to follow him. And we see Andrew Schuchar back out on track after cutting a tire early with some contact with Doug Delfell, but good to see the 11 car back out. But Steve Cox, Quentin Borison, and Eric Allison, it's a very familiar three names we've heard all year long in this division.
Cox now has the benefit of being able to set the pace and kind of time things up how he wants to, and that's a good feeling as a veteran who's got so many laps here around Evergreen Speedway, so many times that he has crossed that intersection here in our Figure 8 division, our Superstock Figure 8 division. Now coming up on slower traffic, too.
Yeah, it looks like Mackenzie Dietz in the 67. She's back out now after getting a new shoe on that car as well. As that was Jessica Wilkinson who flashed in front of your leaders, and Schuchar's hanging it way sideways. That's going to kind of bottleneck right in front of your leader, Steve Cox. Doug Delfell taking the long route around the South Pole again, but it is carnage out there.
Cox having to navigate a couple of quick race cars in their own right. Look out, Andrew Schuchar. That is not the fast way around Evergreen Speedway.
No, doing a little bit too much sideways drifting right there as Steve Cox looks to go around. Mackenzie Dietz put her another lap down after she spent some time in the pits. We'll see if Schuchar is able to get fired back up. Quentin Borison trying to get back to that back bumper of Steve Cox.
Borison losing contact with Cox here as he is stuck on the outside of Dietz getting in through the North Pole. So Borison going to have to deal with this lap traffic very, very quickly.
And that looked like it was Jessica Wilkinson who went around right in front of our head flagger, John Peterson, in that 55 car. So that's going to bring out another caution flag and try to get the other number 11 of Andrew Shukar moved, because he was not able to get fired back up after taking his fun little spin.
Well, we made very nice decorative race car in the middle of the track there, you know.
It was there. Yeah, he definitely placed it there on purpose.
Right.
So it looks like almost every single driver is able to continue after contact at one point or another. I think we've had 4 or 5 cut tires now, but all those drivers still back out on track. So good to see. Steve Cox, your leader. Quentin Borison in second. Mackenzie Dietz a few laps down, but we're not taking lap cars out of the running order. Then Eric Allison, then Jeff Talbert. So we'll get these drivers fired back up as John Pearson likes what he sees, and the green flag is back out.
Delaware-style restart where they're 2x2 in behind your leader, and one of the functions of that, too, is to not let the field string out too far. You don't really want the lead car coming around and already into lap traffic in the intersection as you get up and going, so good reasoning there in the double file, and Cox gets a nice start. Borison, car length back of him here coming into the back half of this race.
Yeah, Eric Allison probably working harder than he wants to, trying to get around Mackenzie Dietz, who is a lap car, but just because they're a lap car doesn't mean they have to pull over and let you by. They're going to race you hard just like anyone else, but Eric Allison trying to complete that pass, and he will. Now he's got his sights set on that bright blue bumper of Quentin Borison, who sits in second.
Yeah, Borison's got to do something a little bit different, as Cox has just controlled this race from the time that he got out and onto the point. Borison 2, Allison with a little bit of ground to make up in 3. That's a lap car, and Dietz in behind in 4th position.
Yeah, Quentin Borison looking strong, smoking the tires a little bit going into the North Pole, but that's not uncommon to see with these cars. Quentin Borison on a hunt right now, trying to get to Steve Cox, but catching him and passing him are two different things.
Completely different, as we've seen both of those veteran drivers do a good job of protecting their lines when they need to, as you're watching 3rd place in a lap car there, and kind of shows you how much speed Mackenzie Dietz has, if just not for cut tire, things might be completely different for the 67 here.
Exactly, yeah. She's showing how strong she can be, really hanging that car out off the corners, carrying a ton of momentum, but we're going to go back up to this lead battles. Quentin Borison's really closed that gap as they're really cutting it close to the intersection now.
Yes, they are. Got to time it, getting on through, hit the hammer, and do not run into the slower cars that are coming through. Borison and Cox on a breakaway will look a bit further deeper in the pack.
Yeah, this is just outside the top 5. That is Renicky, who actually sits in the 5th spot with Chuck Wittes and Keith Cook, who I don't think Cook's quite having the run that he expected to have tonight. Sitting P7 right now, trying to get around Chuck Wittes, and then Renicky is actually the youngest driver out here, just 20 years old, but the story is up front right now. Quentin Borison is all over the back bumper of Steve Cox.
Well, what can Borison do? There's a little bump going into the North Pole. Borison around the pole, just right on the back of Cox as they get through, past the slower cars, and again, Borison letting Cox know he's there.
Yeah, Steve Cox has a bright blue mirror full right now of that 17 car, as Quentin Borison's not letting up at all. He's throwing everything he can to Steve Cox, and these guys are good buddies. They've actually helped drive each other's cars during practice to figure out just different things about their own car. So they're definitely going to use each other up here, trying to get all they can out here, and no hard feelings either.
Yeah, slower traffic in the intersection going to be a factor. Now slower traffic directly ahead of them going to be a factor. Cox going to have to deal with it definitively and quickly, and so far so good for your race leader.
Yeah, that's Doug Delfell in the 01 right in front of your leaders. Both of them able to get around now. Now it's just any sort of traffic in the intersection they have to worry about.
Down to 5 laps left. Cox looking for what would be at least a 2nd straight win that I know of.
He has a lot of them this year. He's been very strong in that Tommy Gap owned number 32 machine, and he is putting it all the right places tonight. Just trying to hang on a few more laps remaining for Steve Cox and Quentin Borison as they have checked out from 3rd place Eric Allison.
Down to 3 laps remaining. Here's Cox. And again, Borison starting to lose touch with him a little bit as they've wove through the lap traffic and through the intersections a couple of times.
Yeah, I wonder if maybe Quentin just used up those tires a little too much, as we got Chuck Wittes going around, and that's kind of a blind spot on this track. And yep, there is the caution flag out immediately, is coming around that corner. It's a very bad place to be stopped, so we're going to see if we can get a quick replay of this, as looks like similar to what we saw earlier with Doug Delfell and Andrew Shukar, just coming around the corner and just kind of squeezing up right there before they go down to the intersection. But we will be right back with more racing action in the final 3 laps of the Monroe Grocery Outlet Superstock Figure Eights.